My name is Reinard Vanloo from Frequentis, and today I want to talk about how we overcome the barrier between consumer and agency use of broadband. So first I want to explain what technologies are behind this and what the state of play is at the moment, why we want to cross this barrier, and how this will help the operational procedures at our customers, public police, fire, ambulance, especially public safety customers. So what is NGX and NCX all about? First of all, at the moment, of course, we communicate using voice. If there's an emergency, I pick up my phone and I make a voice call. Well, at the moment, we can do more than just voice calls. We have video calls, we can send text, we can send pictures. And as the public expects those communication methods to be used when contacting the public safety agencies, technology has to follow as well. And that's especially where the next generation 112 in Europe, 911 in America, 999 in the UK, and other parts of the world. Next generation X, we call that standard drives how we can use those new ways of communicating in securely contacting the public safety agencies. It has started with a slow start, but it's still on track to be rolled out across the world, and especially Europe and America. We know of some big programs being started now to prepare all PSAPs to accept next generation 999 or 911 NGX calls. We also know that there are a lot of small proprietary mobile emergency apps being made available by individual countries or individual regions even, which is of course not optimal because each region will get a proprietary app and you have to have it on your mobile phone, and especially in the moment of stress you don't know how to find it or how to use it. A precursor to next generation 9 and next generation X is also the availability of improved location functionality. Advanced mobile location, AML, is now also being slowly rolled out across Europe and if not the world. There's a lot of experimentation going on with other media than voice, of course, web chat, Twitter, SMS to 112. In Norway we supply that. Also, of course, with social engagement on social media. But there's no coherent way forward yet. And a lot of experimentation, which is good. I will talk about it later, but it's still not there. Of course, the goal should be not to have proprietary application on your mobile. It should be a native function in your iOS or Android operating system, and of course, it should be supported on the mobile network. And as I will explain later as well, your PSAP has to be ready to be able to accept those kind of calls. Focusing now more on the agency side, agency usage of mobile broadband networks. Of course, in the past years, talk has been about LTE, 4G, and now of course 5G. But for all intents and purposes, it's an IP data pipe, and especially all the applications we're talking about, MC data, MC video, MC PTT. Those are IP applications on that network. Very important for MCPTT, MC data, and MC video, and especially for our public safety customers, is of course that we have priority and security on that network, and that's what makes those standards special. It's still ongoing, it's being rolled out. There are a lot of countries now starting tenders on upgrading their network to a 4G or 5G capable mission critical solution. Some countries are already implementing, for instance the UK. And they are early adopters of this technology, and it's going forward in a very rapid pace. And of course, on the sidelines, we are still doing plug tests within the industry to make sure that all these solutions are interoperable and work according to the standard. The focus at the moment is more on providing like-for-like TETRA functionality, as you would expect, because we have to replace those existing TETRA systems or supplement those TETRA systems. So the focus is more on MCPTT applications, a bit of MC data, and people are also just starting to use MC video. One small word then on 4G and 5G. As I said earlier, we see it more as an IP pipe, and the difference for us for the MC data, MC video, MCPTT applications, the difference between 4G and 5G network is more the throughput, the bandwidth, and the reach and the cost of those networks. So it just improves, gives us more bandwidth, gives us more capability to do more videos at the same time. But the core technology, the core functionality will remain the same between the two networks. So let me talk about, well, how do we bridge those two things at the moment? On the public-facing side, we want to contact and communicate with members of the public using all kind of media. And on the mobile side, on the mobile resources facing side, we want to use mobile MCX technology to be able to give them more than just voice, give them access to the data in our system. However, if you look at how those things are connected at the moment, it's more like a thing with two strings. There's a brick wall. There's no linkage. It's very difficult to share previously sent information or live information from the public-facing side and share it with the resource-facing side. So we want to break that wall. We want to move it away, and especially the MCX and NGX standards will actually help us with it. So that we can do things like, well, I have a web chat with someone and I can share that web chat in real time with a mobile officer on the street. Or I can share a picture or a video in real time with a mobile resource on the street, or vice versa. I can have access from my from the street. The police officer can have access to all the intelligence systems on the street and does not need to call or utilize a resource in the control room to get to that information which is already there. And last but definitely not least, you can also now give the public more services that allow them to look up the status of a case they reported a week ago. Again, not utilizing resources in the control room. Those resources are rather costly, and I will come back to it later of why that's so important. Like I said, we want to cross this border. There's a lot of functionality, a lot of possibilities we can provide, and optimizations to the workflows we can provide by bridging that world. And of course, very important to us is that we use standards. I spoke in the beginning about having those proprietary national next generation apps, video call apps. Each region might have a different one which uses some kind of proprietary standards. We already have seen, but luckily they are reducing at the moment. We already have seen proprietary video apps also on the mobile responder side, and of course that's not helping us in bridging those gaps. We should really look at utilizing standards, the next generation standards, the mission critical standards, because they're actually in the core they are the same thing, SIP RTP based standards, and we can utilize them to, of course, bridge that world. So that's a bit more on technology, and that you can do that, but why should we do this? So above all, when we talk to our customers, it's more about how can they improve their service to the public, and how can they achieve cashable savings in their operations. And when we talk to the customers, yeah, everyone wants to have these new technologies, fine, and give it to me tomorrow, but there are a lot of challenges. The system landscape and the networks, especially within the customer base, are perhaps not ready yet for the onslaught of real-time video and even mission critical voice on the network. Those have to be improved. And especially on the operational side, the inclusion of video and data and text and messages into the workflow of responding to requests for help from the public, that will change the processes massively. For instance, if I do a video call, a next generation X video call, should the operator be visible to the person calling for help? Should I, as an operator, see all the gory details about an accident day in, day out for each video call coming in? But also, how can chatbots and artificial intelligence help me in making sense of the new information and also guard the operators from seeing too much? There's also, of course, the question of, do I have a legal obligation to support this new technology? We see in a lot of countries there are developments. In Belgium, for instance, there's now a legal base to be able to do this. Germany, I think, is still working on it. In England, it's coming along as well. So there's still work to be done on the legal side, of course. And last but not least, somehow we have to save money. So how can I include this new functionality into my multi-supplier environment? It's not one solution can do all. Customers have already invested a lot in existing technology, and how can they bolt on or include or slowly migrate to a new solution supporting these new technologies? It's not an easy question, but it's solvable. So on the examples of what our customers can do to improve service and reduce cost, well, one thing is, big topic is deflect demand. They see an opportunity in these new technologies to to offer more, to resolve more calls on the first point of contact. Some force has done calculations where they said, well, if I can resolve a call for a request for help on the first point of contact, it will cost me £8, and if I have to send resources, it costs me £270. So there's a big drive to resolve requests on the first point of contact by, for instance, simplifying things or automating things. If I want to report the theft of a shovel from my garden shed, I would like to put this person on a web page so I can fill in the form, and why should this person utilize and claim the time of a costly resource in my control room. You can even eliminate some of the traffic, because a lot of calls are hoax calls or calls about non-urgent things, and of course they should be offloaded to a public-facing platform. And the end result of that, of course, is you have less call-outs, and that's a big saving, of course, for our customers. These new technologies, NGX and MCX, they also improve the process and control room. It can improve the goal of having the right information at the right time to the right user. It also allows that, what of course should be taken into account and should be taken care of, actually, that the operator does not become a kind of system integrator. Integration into the workflow is very important. You have to know the process, and this new technology has to fit in, and it should not be a bolt-on application. So at the end of the day, I have 10 different applications on my laptop, and I as a user have to do the system integration. That's not a goal. We should avoid that. So we should focus on improving the process and control room. We should also recognize that these new technologies will lead, and we already see that happening, will lead to new roles in the control room. It's not more the classic call taker, dispatcher, supervisor, but it could be more. You have multi-skilled users where some can handle digital information, some not. You have to have some oversight and providing real-time intelligence based on social media monitoring into the whole workflow, and that requires also additional users or roles within the control room. And that's an evolving field. There's a lot of experimentation going on, which is good, and we learn quite a lot of that, and we have to take that into account when introducing these new technologies. Last but not least, as I said, this network out there, if I have broadband network out there which my offices can use, they can resolve much more on the scene, on the spot, and not have to call in or go back to the HQ to fill out a form. They can do it on the spot, on the scene, and that's also a very big driver for our customers. We already see some experimentation going on. It might look small, but even web chat is a way to offer new ways of communicating like Next Generation X to the members of the public to contact a PSAP. And this is something we're doing, for instance, in Northwest Police in the UK, where we offer a web chat capability, and that's saw a big uptake and actually a reduction in calls coming in and utilization of resources within the control room, which is always a good thing. What you also see happening is that a lot of forces are looking at their processes and see, well, how can we make them fit for the new technology? One of our German customers, for instance, together with us did an information stream analysis to find those places in the process where we can apply the technology and give us guidance on how we should then implement that in our products and utilize it in their projects. It also is very important to recognize that if you use these new kind of technologies, we should look beyond the border of the classic system domains. We're not talking anymore about I have a command and control, I have a GIS, I have a communication system, I have a radio system. To really make use of the functionality, we have to cross borders between those applications. Here are just a couple of examples of what we are talking about. It's about integrating with customer relationship management applications like Microsoft Dynamics. We are talking about drones, to have video coming in via mission critical video from a drone in the control room, and perhaps even share it with the public. It's about intelligence sharing, and that when I have a call from the public, I can get from the command control system already intelligence about the person calling, what's happening around the location of this caller, so that again, the user is not a system integrator. He or she will be presented with all the relevant information at the right point in the process. And last but not least, we're looking at integrating all these new ways of communicating into the existing workflow within the control room applications. So we, for instance, good example is a consistent automatic conversation distribution conversation distribution of all communication media, not just voice as HD was used for in the past, but all those new video calls, text messages, Tetra calls. Even we integrate Tetra with those new technologies as well, so we have a good transition. But it has to come together at some point, and that's what is very important. So to be able to do these kind of things, standards, as I already mentioned, are very important. So, but also, of course, like the systems we are using are not the only systems used in your control room. There are more, and they have to be able to collaborate with each other. They have to share information. The customer relationship management system has to be open to share data with the location of a call coming in from the communication system. And of course, the technological solutions should be capable to be adapted and to be integrated into a specific environment in a cost-efficient manner. So tools and empowering local suppliers and agencies to do that is very important. So to summarize, what I'm talking about is broadband use of broadband by the members of the public and by agencies, primarily focusing around NGX and MCX. Bridging those new technologies we see as a very important aspect, offers new existing possibilities. Why do you want to use those possibilities? Because we can then improve the service and reduce the cost of operations of our customers. How we do this? We have to collaborate together. All suppliers have to work together to provide an integrated solution. We have to work according to standards. So always ask your supplier, is your solution you're providing, is it standards compliant? And we also have to experiment, because we have to learn. Things will change, and gradually we have to learn to get to use this new technology and include that in our environment. And we at Frequentis are, of course, very active in this field to help our customers achieve that. So that's all what I have to say. Thank you very much.